Welcome back. I'm Simon Turner and I'm the campaign manager for Driving for Better Business.
I'm Peter Golding, the founder and managing director of FleetCheck.
In this video, we're going to be looking at some of the challenges facing fleet operators as far as vehicle maintenance goes. We've seen a number of announcements relaxing the requirements for vehicle maintenance recently, but one of the things that is really important to remember at this time is that none of those relaxations in any of the legislation or requirements absolves you or reduces in any way your duty of care to put out a roadworthy vehicle with a safe and compliant driver. So, Peter, let's look first at some of the challenges that are going to be faced if you're running vehicles for essential drivers, because at the moment you're operating at capacity, and there isn't necessarily the ability to maintain the vehicles as they would like to do.
Yeah, and Simon, yeah, you're right. I mean, the challenges for the essential road users now, where they may see a significant increase in mileage against perhaps the normal traffic, even if it's maintained to the standard level. But bearing in mind, these vehicles now will be getting past the point, so service intervals will be exceeded. We're seeing now, for obvious reasons, a widespread closure of so many of the garages. So not only are we going to be dealing with vehicles that are overdue MOT, these vehicles will be overdue servicing. Now this comes into two factors. I think you've mentioned it quite rightly, the duty of care and the welfare issues as far as the vehicles is concerned, because they have to be roadworthy, which means that the emphasis has to be on the drivers to ensure that they are regularly doing checks. We've covered this on some of the previous videos we shot, but it needs to be reinstated here. You know, you really do need to realise that because these vehicles are now potentially could be substantially overdue for servicing and MOTs, they still need to be roadworthy, and those vehicles need to have legal tyres and everything operating correctly. There may be provisions and ways that you can help if your garages are closed, but there are now perhaps an opportunity to look at some of the mobile mechanics. I mean, we're seeing an increase in adoption of that as a way at least get a competent person inspecting the vehicle. And another point that's been raised with the issues to do with extended, majority of the vehicles you're running, I'm sure will have manufacturer's warranties, extended warranties. I know we're going to put a link across on some guidance notes there on which manufacturers' policies, because they're all adapting to this and giving some provision for extension, but it's not standardized. So really don't take anything for granted. You've got an extended warranty on your vehicle. Make sure you understand what you can and can't do. You can't just use the fact that you can't get it into the garage you want if there's a provision for another garage. So these are really uncertain times. I'm reinforcing what Simon's saying as far as the that side, as far as the checks are concerned. However, I think we also, there's other challenges as well. I mean, we were talking to a fleet operator only yesterday, where the MOTs we know have been extended now since the 30th of March for 6 months. But they were trying to tax a vehicle that's parked on the road on one of their drivers, which is a furloughed driver, and they couldn't tax it because the DVLA records haven't been updated. So just check, look at the situation, because if you've got vehicles on the road without tax or they are being used, they will get picked up by the ANPR cameras. And these are, really quite a problem for you.
Of course, we also need to look at non-essential fleets as well, Peter. The job retention scheme that the government introduced, whereby businesses can furlough drivers and the government will subsidise their wages. A lot of those drivers are now sat at home with the knock-on effect that almost entire fleets in some instances have been mothballed and are now sat in depots, which presents its own challenges, doesn't it?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, a second ago I was talking about essential drivers and obviously the challenges there of exceeding mileages and vehicles not having MOTs and everything else. But I mean, a vehicle doesn't do well, but just sitting on the drive or sitting down, as you say, in a depot. I mean, there are certain key issues to do with the sort of reliability and durability of the vehicle. We all know that things like batteries will go flat. But there are other things to consider. If the vehicles are parked on somebody's drive, actually getting that vehicle started every few weeks, obviously security there, don't leave the vehicle parked and running on your drive with the keys in it. That wouldn't be good with the insurance company. But so getting them up to temperature, we'd recommend the cooling system's actually at normal temperature. Put on the air conditioning. This might sound a strange thing, but there's a lubricant within the air conditioning that needs to circulate. If the vehicle stood up for an extended period of time, you could end up with a gas escape. And it's a minor thing, but it can add to costs when you're looking at getting these vehicles back on the road. And even down to the point now, hopefully we all don't want this to go on longer than any longer than it needs to. But if a vehicle is stood for a long period of time, or quite longer than we anticipate, just moving the vehicle to make sure it doesn't flat spot on the tyres, be aware of any necessary leaks and things like that. So it's not I think it's not a matter of parking up and abandoning. It's a matter of looking after and maintaining that vehicle as much as you physically can when it's not being used. If it is in a depot, then obviously there's limitations. Somebody did say to me yesterday, was it a good idea to go around and disconnect the batteries on these vehicles? Categorically do not do that. Most of the modern vehicles now have got ECUs, computers, that you really don't want to. If the battery goes flat, then it goes flat. But so don't be tempted to think, I'll disconnect the battery. That isn't a good measure at all. But I think all we're looking forward to at the moment is going back to normality. And I think there's going to be interesting challenges there when we look into reinstate these fleets in this.
I think that's correct. And as you say, we're all looking forward to going back to normality, but reinstating a mothballed fleet is going to be a major challenge in its own right. And that's something we're going to look at in much more detail in the last video of this series on going back to work, which we all hope will happen sooner rather than later. So thank you for now. We'll see you on the next video.